feeling like an old man already. In my young 20s, and the things that I like to do, I'm finding it harder and harder to get down and doing them. It's not really a physical thing, it's kind of a mental thing. Feeling like maybe it was time to do a video, and a lot of times I just don't feel like I have the spirit to do it the way that I want. And I think maybe I'm just going to have to get over that soon. But fortunately, for all of my weird little fans, recent stance happenings? Stuff that happened recently has kind of put me in the mood to do a video. And I've got some different stuff that I want to do. For example, this is a really bad example. Plastic crap. This is a Sonic that it's an action figure of original 1990s Sonic, actually, aside from the buckles on his shoes. This looks like the Sonic the Hedgehog that I grew up with. However, that's not educational enough. Yeah, Tolstoy's gonna get, we're gonna get darker, we're gonna get blacker, read a book, read a motherfucking book. So yeah, we're actually looking to that. That is an amazing song. So yeah, we're really gonna get into it with this one. I just thought, what could I do? Well, the problem is that a lot of people say, hey Tolstoy, you should just do. A lot of my fans, and God bless these people, they are the true Tolstoy assassins. They say, why don't you just do videos where you, like, vlogging. Oh, vlogging. Where you just talk about your thoughts and opinions, your issues, and I can't do those. They would tip my hand too much. There's things that I'm honestly ashamed to say, that I can't say, that I feel. Even on the internet, even in ambiguity, I just can't fucking say them. And, so yeah. And I think whenever I do these, like, nerdy reviews, whenever I say, like, well, and I make mention of my ideologies, hint at it with, you know, while I'm talking about video games or anime or some shit, that kind of helps the pill go down. That makes it just seem like I'm just mentioning it, you know, off the cuff, which I am, but I'm just saying it's like, you know, it's not... I'm not making it the purpose of the video, and that helps me get my message out without seeming too extreme about it, which is also a downside, because then I feel like I'm never actually really getting down to the point, and people aren't discussing that, and so there you go. But whatever, that's how Tolstoy rolls. Just get on with it. Hey, I'm wearing a suit. Do you know how fucking hot it is? Not as hot as you think. Something happened recently, and see, because I know that I can't talk about... Can't talk about it. I mean, it's like, I went to this, I was around a lot of derp. Like, really, surrounded. And I tried my best to see it from their point of view. And the next day, it's almost like, you know, when, like, in the movies, when, like, you see, like, a rape scene or something like that, or whatever, a murder, and the patient, I'm so used to being in my fucking job. The character is seen scrubbing in the shower, going, and they're trying to, like, get it off them. I put on my suit in, like, 80-degree weather and, like, walked around. And I'm still feeling ashamed for it. I have toned way back. This is just a suit. I'm not wearing the full everything. Wait till winter comes. And, yeah, for some reason I feel so vulnerable now. I got a couple compliments from some people, but it felt like, I don't know, like they were laughing at me, not with me. Right? Okay, let me just get on with the fucking review. Let me stop talking. So, Tolstoy wants to invite you into the world of comics. I've tried to do this a couple of times. The comics reviews present a couple of problems, which is, one, no good visuals. And the main reason for the no good visuals is because I wish I could, if I had the editing skills, which I do, and if I had the time, I would splice in my, you know, the clips of my discussion about the work with me turning the pages, showing you some of the beautiful art, some of the word bubbles, some of the more interesting quotations without spoilers. The problem with that is copyright. I do want to have this up for monetary gain a little bit. You know, YouTube's going to throw a cent at me. And I can't just say, I can't use someone else's work for that gain. You could say it's for review and it's fair use, but I don't understand. The law is not solid. It's a living document. Made to benefit the rich. Made so that if XPlay wants to review video games, they can make money, but if I want to review comic books, I'm bad. I don't get it. But, this is going to be Tolstoy's top... It won't be 10. I don't think I have enough to be 10. Top whatever indie comics. I don't have my entire collection. You can... The Between the hurricane and the earthquake. The earthquake is a funny-ass story that I don't even feel like telling. If you were one of my friends, you would have heard the story by now. But, ironically, I mean, just from all the... I'm not nailing any of these swords or guns into the stud. I just nailed like 1,000 nails and put the sword on the wall. None of that shit fell. Now, action figures came raining from the skies, but I tend to put all that back together. That whole closet back there is just a mess. Books and figures fell and shit like that. So I've tried to repair that. But, and to be absolutely honest, Light Sackboy is missing. And that's not like a metaphorical thing, like I'm feeling better or anything, because I'm not. That's like I lost fucking Light Sackboy. And considering that I can't go out and buy another one, my ass better find it soon. So anyway, I gathered up as many of the indie comics as I want to talk about right now, and we're going to talk about them. It's mainly just going to be me holding up a picture of the book and then talking about it. You can X out now if you really want to, but you're going to be missing out on all the fun. I mean, me talking. So, where should we start? I have them in an awkward pile. Oh, that's where I was going to start. Let's define indie. Not for the whole, I'm not going to sit here and talk about mainstream and independent and all that stuff. I'm not going to talk about the entire spectrum of indie. Let's talk about indie comics. I'm not even going to go through the history of it. I'm just going to say, how do I define the word indie in my mind? Because people have a loose definition of a lot of things. Indie usually is one... Well, it's done, obviously, independent of, I guess you could say DC or Marvel, top publishers, but I think, no... Because a lot of good stuff was published through Vertigo, which is a subsidiary of DC. A lot of good stuff which is published through DC. Most of which aren't, but I'm not going to sit here and say that that's the biggest factor. I'd say it's one creative vision by one creator. Hopefully a writer and his comic artist, or a writer and he just does the comics as well. And basically no superheroes. There are some that do have superheroes, but to be honest... You know Tolstoy, and I've done this, I've said this a million times, I've preached this 1,000 times. I don't like men in tights. It's weird, it's homoerotic. What you do with, what you do with your comics behind your locked doors, I won't judge you for. No, but really though, I just don't like superheroes. I don't, specifically now that Hollywood Rape Machine has just got full-on into it. I mean, I don't want to be graphic or disgusting. I feel like I want to describe this rape scene between works of art, we'll use that term lightly, the comics and the cartoons that were amazing, like X-Men, and just Hollywood. And Hollywood is like, the prison bull, and like, these comics were like the new guy in prison. I mean, I don't want to be disgusting, but that's how lewd it is, that they took X-Men. The first two movies were okay, done by David Hayter. He's a very good, yeah, I know, he worked on that, right? A very good adaptationist, if you will, and the director was pretty good. And then with the third movie, they're just like, can we herp a derp a derp? They were like, Jesus can't be black. And then, like, I'm like, but Jesus was black. And then, I just saw a fucking commercial for X-Men First Class, and it just looked like, Jesus. I mean, if you don't understand why it's wrong, then get out now. Just get the fuck out. So yeah, let me give you a good example. Let me do the best that I can in painting up this picture here. What is not indie? Okay, an example of what is not indie. I played the Darkness video game, which was an amazing video game for being shitty. I really liked the dark place that it took me. I liked its original concept. I was really into it. Even though the character was kind of a douche, I just, whatever. I was easily taken into it. I played it on the PlayStation 3. With all of its flaws, it was still really creative. I mean, the immersive world you were in, like, you could just dial random numbers on the phone. It almost reminded me of Deus Ex. Dial random numbers on the subway phones, and you get, like, this weird message. And I was playing this at, like, 3 in the morning over one summer when I was unemployed. You dial random numbers, and you get messages by a guy saying, I'm going to Nepal on a spiritual journey. Leave a message. I don't know when I'll be able to get back to you. Boop! And then he hangs up the phone. Man, you know what really sucks? I paid $60 for this massive fucking unreadable brick called the Darkness Compendium. Now again, I can't show you any of the art within, but allow me to look at it and describe it to you. Okay, I just picked the perfect page. I just wish I could show you this. I want to play by the rules, but it's like, who fucking wrote this shit? First of all, the art doesn't look original or inspired. It looks like someone did it on a computer. That's a problem for me. That's why I'm really into 80s comics, back when art was art. Almost like my favorite anime is like anime from like the 80s, you know what I mean? Or stuff that was mimicking the style in the 80s, much like Aeon Flux. Not the movie. Look up Peter Chung. What's his name? Yeah. But comics these days, it just looks like they're just, you know, they write the script out and then someone goes, and then the computer just does it all for them. I mean, like in the old days when you had to like paint and, you know, go over that and then you had to go trace it and then you had to color it in and, you know, I don't know. So what I'm looking at right here is a picture of a woman in a white top with what looks like triple E jugs. It's just like the whole comic book is just filled with pseudo-violence and pseudo-swearing, and I mean, it's just like, alright, so there's this woman, and he's like having sex with her, I guess, and it's just like all these random girls, and here's another picture, just a bunch of random girls in like golden bikinis and shit, and they're all like strippers and porn stars, which actually, you know, if they're trying to sell this comic to me, it doesn't make any sense, because I'm a nerd. I don't like strippers and porn stars. I don't find that attractive. I don't even find suicide girls attractive. I'm sorry, I guess it's because I'm an undesirable. I deserve to be erased and shit like that. The short plot lines, the stupid writing, it's all just shit. Here's some actual fucking strippers. I'm on a page with actual fucking strippers. It's like, they're not women. How can I be turned on by that? Jeez. Okay. And to compound this, well, let me explain what I mean by what an indie comic is. Now, a lot of you saw in my last review with the... Do I need to adjust the lighting? It's becoming overshadowed. Oh, Lord. I only have a limited time to do it. Yes, no. Maybe so. I'll turn on my Asian lamp. Unfortunately, navigating with this giant leather hunk of a chair in the room is not always easy. Bam! Bam! Okay, now we got the lighting going. And it's so fucking hot, I'm gonna burst into flames in this suit. Oh well. After Otakon I should... And then when I do that, then the sun comes out. A miracle. Ah! So, I recently did the review with the Sackboys, and I always, in all of my skits, like to, you know, do kind of shots to comics, you know what I mean? I like to, hey, this is what I'm reading now. And, this was actually the last book that I bought at Borders, which is going out of business. Viet America. It's the story of this kid who, did he say he was born Williams? He's an American citizen now. His name is... As you can see right here, G.B. Tran, Guy Bao Tran, and his whole family escaped Vietnam before the fall of Saigon. And, yeah. I know this sounds weird, but I'm not actually... Something's fucking collapsing in my room. I'm not actually that into Asian women. However, there is a picture of one of his family members from the 60s, I think it's his mother, in a bikini on the beach. Now, obviously, all of this is drawn, but in one panel, he's spliced in an actual photo, which I thought was very creative. And it's her in a bikini in the 60s, and actually, kind of hot. She's a real person, and that's why it's hot. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to force these thoughts on that you don't want to have. Go drink a beer, bro! And turn off the video. You're just hurting yourself. I just don't care anymore. You can't hurt me any more than I'm already hurting myself. Where is that photo? Oh well, it was a cute photograph. And the whole family came to America. I wonder if somewhere out there they're happy right now. Anyway. So yes, a personal vision from a guy who wrote it. It's his personal... And actually, I always love when... One of the biggest things about these books is that most indie comics that I find are valuable are always autobiographies. And mostly having to do with the history of someone from another country. So it always helps me to kind of get into their culture, you know what I mean? To see all these drawings of Vietnam, like, historically. And I just start really understanding the Vietnamese people. Which is a problem because, as an American, as an expatriate, look up the word, kid, look it the fuck up! Your teacher should have taught you what it meant, but they won't. Your teacher taught you... No, I'm not getting into that. I was going to say something about American imperialism. As an expatriate, I'm always looking for the culture that I identify with the most, and I guess, unfortunately, I'm kind of a poser in the sense that I always end up saying, yeah, you know who I'm like? The Japanese. And then the truth is I'm just being a weeaboo. Although, really, I do identify a lot with the Japs. Mainly not necessarily their caste system or their honor, all of that stuff, like when the idea that they're very, I think they're breaking away from that, but the very, very traditional society, I respect that, but at the same time, I don't respect that so much as I respect their working ethic. Like America used to have a working ethic before we broke all the unions. Oh, communism's bad! Oh! Anyway, so, now we've defined what I consider indie and not indie. Let's talk about some of the best indie stuff that I've ever read. Okay, here's a good place to start. In the 80s, apparently his name is Gaiman, but I've been saying it Gaiman. Bam! Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman. Sorry. A chick came into where I work, and she's going to lend me a book by Neil Gaiman. She was talking to me about Neil Gaiman. Nice. Anyway, yeah, she's going to lend me a book. That's right, son. Right, so, why did I come across this? Where did I find this? Oh, right. I think I read this once on the internet when I was looking up Morpheus, because Morpheus is the name of the Dream King from this. Look into it. Neil Gaiman's work is really interesting. To be honest, I find it's just hit or miss. It's like sometimes his stories are just completely fucking batshit insane, and then sometimes when I find that I can, like, let go and just get into what he's saying, I can really start to enjoy the work. It isn't grounded in any kind of reality. I kind of find that it pisses me off. There are no rules in his world. You know what I mean? It's like, I think I've had this discussion before. What is falling? In my room. It's that, and it's either thundering, or there's a fucking biker outside. No peace and quiet in my little redneck suburbia. So yes, there are no rules in his magic. It's like, I guess because he says, because we agree it's magic, anything can happen, right? Well. Anyway, so, another one, Alan Moore's Watchmen. Now, it is lightning. It must be from the, the tirade. The spirits have, strike me down in my hour of... Anyway, so, Alan Moore, best indie comic writer ever. Watchmen, I don't think it was his magnum opus. It comes down to that or V for Vendetta. I've lent my V for Vendetta copy to a friend who really needs to read it. Hint, hint. It did have superheroes, but it was like, I think, one of the first comics to come out and say, your vision of superheroes is wrong, here's what it would really look like, and it's such an interesting peer into that possibility, that this is what it would really be like, and it comments a lot on very deep themes of modern humanity. You know what I mean? It's very like modern morality. Would it be all right to keep the secret that they kept in the end? Is it possible to take over the Earth now? Anyway, so yes, and V for Vendetta is on that list. I wish I could talk so much more about that, but unfortunately, the problem is that this has become mainstream because it's the cream of the crop, and so bookstores have pushed it, and so, they made movies about it. So you get little 13-year-olds who read it and maybe think that they're being angsty. You know what? Actually, though, I read an internet philosophical essay once, pseudo-philosophical, with this guy who basically said you only read Watchmen when you're young, just like what did he say? Only 13-year-olds read Ulysses to feel like they're really angsty and intelligent. And I'm like, fuck you, idiot. It's classic literature. No. More than 13-year-olds read Ulysses. Not me. I personally don't like it. It's far too verbose. I liked the Dubliners. Do you know who I'm talking about? James Joyce. Assholes. Actually, I'm getting all indignant when I just spent, last night with somebody who was like, have you heard of the transverse theory of, bicapitalistic transubstantiation? And I'm just like, oh, I've heard of that, but I want to know if you've heard of that, so if you just want to explain that to me. So I guess I have no right to act all high and mighty. It's a good feeling to feel dumb. Really, it is. Now I know why the Derp like it so much. Okay, going back to that, what we talked about... No, wait, this has to come later. I'm trying to sort through these as I can. An honorable mention. Honorable mention means it does not make the list. I have reasons for it. It's flawed. Don't hate me. Art Spiegelman's Mouse, My Father Bleeds History, and Here My Troubles Began. It's a Holocaust story, and he's being very factual with it, and he's very put this. There are other Holocaust stories that were done better. That's all I can say. And it's like, when we're talking about the Holocaust, I just think, I guess there's always room for more. If you like it, I love it. I'm not bashing it. I'm just saying it does not make the list because... Okay, let me give you an example. Here's an alternative to this that I thought was better. That was really just showed the kind of the historical image, just really explained everything that was going on at that time. I should have gotten this out ahead of time. This was a 2-part comic that I purchased only when I could find part 1, and that's a huge mistake. I'll probably never find the other part unless I feel like ordering off the internet. Berlin. That's right. Thunder all you want. You can't stop me now. Berlin. It talks about, you know, post-Treaty of Versailles, Germany. And it, rather than sitting here saying, you know, shamey shame on the Nazis, the Jews were just poor victims, which I'm not saying that they weren't. I'm just saying you have, like, kind of amplified that theme to the point where you've missed the fact that, do you not think that some of those Jews were wheeling and dealing within the camps? Do you not think that... That's actually another thing. I'm going to bring up that point. In most Holocaust stories, it's like this overly self-righteous, how could, you know, people so innocent as the Jews, not that they weren't innocent, not that they deserve what they got. I'm just saying you have amplified to the point where you forget the Nazis had families. Some of those were family men. Some of those were actually good people. Not in the sense that what they were doing was right. In fact, yes, they all deserve to die for what they did. I'm just saying, don't characterize this in your mind as, you know, it was that black and white. It is pretty black and white. It's the most black and white war we ever had. Yes, the Nazis were terrible people, but it's just not, it's disrespectful to treat the, okay, Sophie's Choice. Go watch Sophie's Choice. And then you understand that not everyone who made it out was a good person, and maybe they did some things that they shouldn't have done, and it's the inhumanity. Actually, he covers that. This gets on the list now. I'm sorry. I didn't, you know what, I fucked up, because he says that he looks at his father, and there's a point in the book where his father is trying to, like, return some groceries. You know, and he says that his father has become this stereotypical miser of a Jew, this person who's trying to, like, you know, collect money, or, you know, is so penny-pinching, and he says, but the concentration camp made him that way. The Nazis, ironically, created this image of the Jew as an animal, and by putting people in a cage, you made them an animal. And he talks about this one scene where they handed out a spoon to everybody, and they said, this is the only thing you're going to get to eat with, and some guy dropped his spoon, and a hand just out of nowhere just shot out and grabbed the spoon. And that guy's just screwed. He's just going to die. He's going to starve now. Or eat with his hands. Or just, I guess, drink out of a bowl, actually. Just tip it back. But, you see what I'm saying is that I guess I started thinking about this as an overly righteous tale, and then I slowly realized that he, I think, paints it up pretty historically correct. Jesus Christ, everyone shut the fuck up. Oh my God, why? People talk, no. Stop talking! Stop talking! People coming out in the back deck and yelling shit. I have no fucking problem. I know, this is what I get for living in my parents' basement. Yeah, except for this is not a basement. I know, same difference, whatever, fuck you. Berlin is also on the list. Berlin, I think, I like better because it's not from the perspective of someone being pushed into a concentration camp. It's from the perspective of a German citizen who happens to be Jewish, watching their country degrade because of the pressure that was put on them by foreign nations after losing the First World War. And it's a really sweet ending, too. Human. Anyway, so, yeah, those are on the list. Blankets. Again, this is pretty mainstream. This is one of the ones that, you know, people throw out there in bookstores and go, have you read it yet? But it is a really, really good book. Another autobiography. This one is very distinctly American. I really agree with, I don't agree, I identify with a lot of the feelings in this book. It's depressing how close he comes to understanding me and my life. And it's interesting the parallels between my life and his. Maybe you'll feel the same way. Maybe it's a universal kind of thing. It is a very pure love story. There are very few love stories that I believe in, and this is one of them that I do. It's a love story, and it does not have a happy ending, like most love stories. So, read this when you get a chance. Okay. This one is controversial. I haven't had a chance to talk about Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. I think I've mentioned it in a couple of my videos, and I think a lot of people have drawn the conclusion. The smart cookies in the crowd have made the realization that the Sackboys are the Psycho Doughboys. It's my take on that. First things first, the reason why I like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, there's two reasons, and it's ironic. One, I like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac because it represents me. I am Johnny, in a sense. And the second reason why it's funny is because everyone else who's read that book goes, oh yeah, I'm just like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. I'm so cool. It's so cool to be emo and goth and to, you know, and to feel... No, it's not. That's the thing. He's fucking making fun of you. Jonah Vasquez is making fun of you. The difference between me and everyone else who reads that book and says they're Johnny the Homicidal Maniac is I don't want to be fucking Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. I'm trying to change that shit. And maybe I'll succeed. Soon. I've come a long way. I've come a long way from where I started this weird little journey several years ago, which actually, ironically, started with this. It's hard to explain, but I remember reading this. It was snowing outside, which like amplified the feeling of the book, which takes place in a lot of snow. I like the snow. And I remember all of a sudden this feeling overtaking me, and then it started this weird, fucked up journey I've been on for a long time. I guess it's life, though. I guess maybe it's that I was just hiding from the world when I went into homeschooling, and then when I got a job and I started reading comic books, because I had the money to afford them, I realized that my ass has got to get into this game. Maybe life is a journey and it's scary. Maybe I'm just being a pussy and I need to man up. Okay. So, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, one of the great works of our time. I want to hate it because when I was in school, someone showed me a copy of this and I was really flipped out by it. Jonah Vasquez, he did the work for, what's the word? He did the work for Invader Zim, which was a castrated version of this, honestly. Go out and read it. Don't identify with the main character. Just like if you read V for Vendetta, don't like V. He's a fucking terrorist. I identify with V, but I don't like the fact that I identify with V. I'm trying to change that shit. Ideally, if I could live my life the way I wanted to. Shut the fuck up, Lightning. If I could live the way my life I wanted to, I wouldn't have to identify with these assholes. I only do because I want to tear down society because I think society sucks. Certain things about it suck. But I'm not a poser because I don't think all things about society suck. Some things about American society are great and make me feel proud. Too bad there's so very few. It's like when I was at Otakon, I was like, man, this is America. It's so weird. They're always talking about how you have freedom in America, and I'm like, yeah, you know, walk on the sidewalk and you go to work and you pay your taxes and you do whatever TV tells you to. That's freedom. And then I went to Otakon where you see like chicks in bikinis who are like 300 pounds overweight and guys wearing trench coats in 100-degree weather and people like, you know, playing fucking instruments on the sidewalk. And I was like, oh yeah, this is actually freedom. I forgot. This is America. And that actually made me feel good to be an American. But yeah, read Johnny the Homicidal Maniac because the social commentary is priceless. Fucking priceless. Yes. A classic. I am running out of time, probably. Will Eisner's A Contract with God. Nice. A Contract with God. This is the trilogy. And I can include pretty much anything else he ever did. I love all of his work because A, it's not autobiographical. In a way, it kind of is. B, it's original. C, it's American. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what makes me proud, okay? I'm not proud to be an American when I see Hooper Derp this week on Jersey Shore. He gets his dick sucked by a slut. That makes me want to fucking kill you all. But, when I see this hardcore story, like, what do they say he's like? His work is like, John Steinbeck. Yeah, he's the Jewish comic version of John Steinbeck. When I see this shit about, we were so hardcore that, you know, after World War II, or before World War II, during the Depression, we made it through all that. We made it through with our family, with our pride, with our dignity, with our religion, with our identity. As these hardcore motherfuckers who originally came from, like, you know, the religious oppressed and prisoners, just like Australia, sent to America by England and just said, don't come back, overtaxed, said, get the fuck out. Now, I'm not even supporting the Revolutionary War. It's just, I'm proud to come from a race of people who said, you know, we're going to do it, we're the settlers, we're going to do it anyway. It has nothing to do with wanting to shoot brown people and take their oil. I don't support fucking Iraq. I don't support fucking Afghanistan. I don't support fucking Vietnam. I supported World War II. That's about it. And it's hard to understand why. I sometimes feel like World War II is embellished. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It just seems like America was Superman fighting like this evil villain that just wanted to take over the world. It didn't have any seedy, cyberpunk sub-story about, like, oh, well, America was really fighting because they wanted the Nazis' vril energy. Like, that would actually make sense to me. Here's an honorable mention that doesn't make it. Ghost World. And this is kind of what I really wanted to talk about. Ghost World was written by Daniel Clowes, and it's about, like, this alienated young girl who's, like, really pretty and unique on the inside, and no one understands her. I'm just so tired of this bullshit. Ironically, they made a movie based off of it. Thora Birch played the character because Thora Birch was this, oh, she didn't know, no one loved her, she was just misunderstood, and society didn't like her in, American Beauty. What are you talking about? Thora Birch is hot as shit. In reality, this whole, like, false story of, the poor, lonely girl that no one understands who, the society has alienated her doesn't fucking exist. There are men like that. I'm like that. But this whole lie about these really, creative and wonderful gems of women that society have pushed aside, that's a fucking lie. It's there to help create and reinforce the society of the vaginatocracy, where it's like affirmative blaction. And I'm not trying to be racist, I'm just saying, it's like, just because you're black doesn't mean that you should get the job. I don't think it's racist if you don't get the job, because you're black and you're less qualified. And just because you're a woman doesn't mean that society has oppressed you and shit like that. And, I don't know. I'm very misogynistic these days. Wish it wasn't, but I was given no choice. That those feelings were thrust upon me. But as an alternative to this, what, that I was going to talk about earlier, Persepolis. Autobiographic work about a girl who had to overcome great odds. Hey, American women from Generation Y. You grew up in America. You were fucking coddled. You were told that anytime you have a problem, there's some sort of group or, something will take care of you. There's a ACLU will make sure you get into the right college. And if you ever commit a crime, the judge will go easier on you than he will a young man. A young black man from the inner city has no chance of, of being able to compete because you'll be given all these breaks. And, hey, you were really oppressed, like in a society like growing up in Iran post-revolution where, the guardians of the revolution might just be able to pick you up, throw your ass in prison, torture you, take away your freedoms. Yeah, your ass was forced to, oh my goodness, it's so horrible that you're not allowed to go to a bar and wear these slutty, dresses without the, the threat of being raped. Oh, but, you're really being oppressed, like in a country where your ass had to wear a burqa or you were going to get caned. Shut the fuck up. There was my angst. You have taken it from me. You're just taking... This is like The Giver. You're just taking the pain away from me. Wow, more light is necessary now. Okay. Another good one. Black Hole. It actually started off as a short story in... Where did I put it? Fuck my life. I can't find it now. Son of a bitch. Fuck! Oh, here it is. It's small, so it's easily lost. One of my prized possessions, Raw, which this is more indie than indie is ever indie. This was indie before indie was indie. It was like a magazine done by Art Spiegelman, the guy who did Mouse. It was like it didn't last very many issues. What's the word? A chronology? No. What does it mean when you're... Oh, fuck, I don't remember. A symposium? Anthology of indie comics. And we're talking about, like, in this book, they just write a bunch of stuff like, once upon a time, Peter's penis went away, and then he flew into the stars. I'm like, it's edgy. From the short story from that one, we get the full-length story about a young high school kids and their politics, and unlike being, fucking derp about it, this is not fucking Jersey Shore, this is not The Hills. This is actually a very interesting read, and the adversity here comes from the mistake of passing on an STD, and it's a foreign STD that causes you to grow random mutations. Look into it. I think the major controlling theme here is that for functional relationships to work, we have to learn to love the fucked up things about people. Again, why I like this book so much. Another honorable mention. I do not like Sin City. Don't ask me why. I really don't know. I should be into it. I liked the movie a little bit. It's a love-hate kind of thing. I thought this was a better work by Frank Miller, Ronin. Basically, Samurai Jack ripped this off hardcore. The art is fascinating, interesting, full color, a lot more easy to understand and see and perceive than Sin City, which I sometimes have a hard time understanding. I mean, I recognize it was highly stylistic, so is this, but at least I fucking understand what this is about. Awesome look into the future, awesome original story, almost believable, almost a palpable universe, and it goes into existential themes. It's a mindfuck. Unlike Inception, which goes into existential themes, and then goes troll face by the end. Anything left? I liked Alan Moore's From Hell. It was a good book by him. It was a comic that didn't involve superheroes. I'm out of energy. This is it. I'm done. I'm just gonna take a nap right here.